Welcome to the second video where we will cover how you can design your interview questions. Before we begin, please watch the video by clicking on the link that you see in your slides.
So I hope you guys enjoyed the short video. It really illustrates the point about why we need to ask the right questions, and that brings us to why in the first place we need to design these questions intentionally. So by identifying the right questions to ask, that allows us to give users the opportunity to tell us what really is on their mind and what really concerns them. Just like the elderly man, by the son asking the right questions, he was able to verbalize what is actually on his heart and what is his key concern. So that's the same thing that we want to try and identify with our own users as well. Okay, so what are the three sections that we need to ask? We need to talk about their demographics, what are some of their personal motivations, and finally, questions related to the 5 whys. So in terms of demographic, we will generally ask them to tell us a bit about themselves, their name, age, marital status, their maybe what course they are studying, what they are working as. All these will come under demographics. So how long have they been working in this position, and what are their job scopes? That is if you are doing if they are working in the first place. But if they are students, then of course how long they have been studying, what courses they are taking, what they enjoy doing most of during their free time, and potentially even get them to tell us about what their weekends are like. That gives us some clues into their lifestyle, what kind of person they are, which will eventually help to make sense of some of the key concerns that they have. Okay, so aside from that, why do we also need to focus in on them telling us a bit about themselves? It's also because when we design our solutions later on, we need to make sure that the solutions are suitable for them. To give you an example, if you are looking at folks who are slightly more advanced in age, the elderly, the kind of solutions you design need not be very fanciful, but they need to be very functional and easy to use. So that is an example of why by getting some of their demographics, it will also affect the outcome of our solutions. So of course, how long they have been working in that position, what do they enjoy? All these allow us to also design or bake in things that make more sense into the solution or help them to relate to our solution better. Next, we are talking about personal motivation. What drives them at work? What do they look forward to? So this is not in relation, I repeat again, not in relation to the project statement. This is more in relation to how they are as a person. What is motivates them. So for example, for myself, if you are interviewing me about a certain product that I use, and if you ask me what drives me as a person, I wouldn't talk about the product. I would talk about probably about my family, about what drives me to come to work, what drives me to do better is really my kids as well as my family. And lastly, we talk about finally we reach the portion where we ask them about the problem statement, and we ask them some of the questions that are related to what we are interested in. So for example, if we talk about like in the previous lesson, how to engage the public through sports, maybe we can ask them, hey, what frustrates or upsets them when they actually think about exercising, or what are some challenges, or why don't they exercise? Are there any negative experiences? Then we could also ask them, what about some of the positive ones? What is important in this phase is that we keep asking why. We want to give them the chance to tell us more about those experiences and uncover deeper insights as opposed to yes or no questions. If we look at the flow of the interview, we are going to spend around 5 minutes on demographics, 8 minutes on personal motivations, and about 20 minutes which are areas relevant to the problem statement. So why must we do 1 and 2 for demographics and personal motivation? And the reason is because we need to understand our user well. It is user-centric, and in order for us to design a solution just for that user, we first need to understand them as a person. So if we look at two individuals who have a chance, or if we offer two individuals an opportunity to do some freelance work, the kind of responses we get could be very different. The first user might say that, hey, this person wants to earn as much as he can for his kids. And that is where the solution that we design would focus around how much or the monetary return. Whereas for user 2, this person just wants to do the things that he or she likes at this point on time. So if we were to offer freelance work to the second user, the kind of interface and the things we emphasize will be very different. We will talk more about freedom to choose, having the ability to decide what they want to work on and what they like. So there's no right or wrong in the case of interview. We don't have to judge our users. We don't have to say that, hey, you need to be more hardworking, or hey, how come you're so driven by money? There's nothing wrong in each person's motivation. Every person's circumstance is different. What we want is to uncover these insights so that we can design a solution that meets their needs. So a sample of the interview questions would look like something like this. In terms of demographics, you will be collecting their age, their marital status, occupation, hobbies. Personal motivation, you will ask them to share a bit about themselves, what they like, what they dislike, and so on. And finally, for areas relevant to the problem statement, we'll talk about why is the experience not good and why is it good. To actually obtain a set of questions that allow you to uncover these insights, we need the questions to flow nicely. So when you are designing your questions, have in mind or try to picture in your mind how you would ask those questions and how the first question leads on to the second. In particular, how would the personal motivations lead on to the areas relevant to the problem statement? So perhaps if the example was again trying to engage the public for sports, under the personal motivation section, we could actually ask a little bit about their sporting habits, whether they what kind of sports they engage in, whether how that actually affects their lifestyle, and then lead on to the areas relevant to the problem statement. So that allows us to, if they talk about like, hey, the type of sports that they like. So for example, they talk about tennis, then we can ask them, hey, when you are actually engaging in this sport, what were some experiences? Can you share with me? Any good or any bad ones that you can relate? So that allows the conversation or the interview to flow very nicely. So in terms of the areas relevant to the problem statement, we will ask them things like, what is your worst shopping experience? If shopping was the problem statement that we want, or the project statement that we want to tackle. And importantly, we want to ask the why is it not so good, and the why will reveal those insights to us. So as you can tell, we keep emphasizing on the word why, and we will go into the technique in a little while. So why is it that we actually spend so much time, asking about demographics, personal motivation, areas related to the problem statement? At the end of the day, what we want to produce is a persona. This is actually a fictitious representation of your user. We will talk more about persona in a later video, but at this time, you need to remember that without the demographics, the likes and dislikes, you will have some trouble filling up this template. And the richer the information, the more stories that the user shares with you, the better. So that brings us to the end of the second video. Let's take a break and go on to our third video in a bit. Thank you.